Bureaucracy is one of those things that most people resent but accept as an unavoidable part of modern life. Forms, registrations, applications, renewals, codes, licenses, they're all annoying, but they are all necessary. Bureaucracy's purpose is to impose order, but it often ends up creating confusion in the process. And for decades, we've tolerated it because there literally hasn't been any other way. Humans are pretty bad at processing complexity, so if we want consistency, we have to use rigid processes. That's life. Or at least it used to be. Because once you realize that AI can process big data as shapes and flows, and that humanity can effortlessly feed massive amounts of data into it, bureaucracy starts to look strangely outdated. And a new possibility emerges. What if AI didn't just automate bureaucracy, but replaced it with something far better? Let me explain. Bureaucracy is built on one core assumption, that the complexity of our world can only be made manageable by forcing it into categories. Every application is inserted into a template, every scenario must follow a procedure, and every individual has to conform to predefined rules. We continually try to reduce the richness of human experience into tick boxes, checklists, yes-no decisions, and other various constraints. Not because anyone likes this, although I'm sure there's a few strange people that do, but because our minds cannot cope with large-scale complexity in its raw form. So we simplify elements of life so that they can be dealt with by our limited cognitive bandwidth. But life isn't simple. It expands, it branches, spirals, and overlaps. And that messiness doesn't fit neatly into boxes. In fact, bureaucratic systems are often ineffective because they treat people and situations as though they're straightforward and fixed, rather than fluid and contradictory. This is why simple administrative tasks can become a maze, filling in forms can be painful, and decisions made without an appreciation for nuance impact people negatively. We're trying to force an infinitely complex world into a two-dimensional flowchart. And while it works to a degree, it's a million miles away from optimal. That's where AI's ability to approach things completely differently comes in. The main point of what I'm saying today is that AI has the potential to make bureaucracy obsolete. AI doesn't need tidy boxes. It doesn't need fixed categories. In fact, the way it thinks removes the requirement for uniform processes altogether. That's because it can perceive the shape of a request, the context surrounding it, and the relationship between every relevant variable all at once. Let's take a simple example. Imagine there's a person who wants to open a restaurant, but there's already a restaurant 20 feet down the road. A current bureaucratic system may reject the application instantly simply because it's a competition risk. It might flag it as leading to too many restaurants in a given area and dismiss it because it doesn't align with planning policy. But an AI system that can view the topological shape of data could reach a completely different conclusion. That's because it can consider an upcoming housing development, predicted population growth, and shifts in evening footfall. It can factor in a new road opening soon, increased demand within that area, and historical trends for similar towns. And it can make reasoned, data-driven predictions based on the long-term pattern of community behaviour. In other words, it doesn't look at the application, it looks at the ecosystem that application belongs to. And the outcome might be that the approval is recommended because AI has looked at the shape of the data and made that reasoned decision. Because instead of following surface level rules, it can use pattern recognition across many thousands of contextual variables. AI can not only see the forest, but it can see the individual trees, the cluster of roots at the base of those trees, and even the soil composition, all at once. Humans can't do that. Bureaucracy doesn't allow for that, but intelligent machines can do it easily. Okay, so it's also important to highlight that there are risks with this approach, and so I want to state them really clearly. First, we've got the black box problem, which I've discussed previously. If AI sees reality through shapes that we can't perceive, how do we challenge a decision if the reasoning sits inside complexity that we can't easily decode? Secondly, we need to think about bias and data quality. As AI gets its data from us, our output, flawed, emotional, and biased, becomes its worldview. And thirdly, oversight and accountability are serious considerations. A system that adapts dynamically may resist any rigidity that we rely on to ensure fairness. These are all serious issues, but they're not reasons to avoid the transformation. They're reasons to guide it really carefully, because the potential is enormous. We could finally escape the slow, rigid, uniform systems that we've built purely because we had no other choice. We can build new systems that adapt, evolve, and respond to complexity with the same fluidity seen in the world they're designed to govern. AI's power to use data for decision making doesn't streamline bureaucracy, it obliterates it. And it replaces it with something that could genuinely work. It swaps rigid procedures for dynamic understanding, administrative friction with clarity, and blind conformity with human context. This is not AI automating paperwork. This is the emergence of an administrative intelligence that could finally handle complexity that we never could. Imagine approaches like this scaled across all administrative systems. No forms, no templates, no duplicated information, no irrelevant fields, and no guesswork. Instead, we can just describe a situation using natural language. Maybe someone wants to start a business, they need financial support, someone's applying for housing, someone else needs planning permission, or someone's changing their tax status. In each case, AI can pull up every relevant detail, check an individual's history, and identify any missing information. It can compare a case to millions of others, predict the consequences, and generate the necessary paperwork behind the scenes. It can provide a decision based on the shape of the data, not on the limits of human thinking or rigid procedures. It becomes an informed conversation rather than a procedural confrontation, an intelligent guidance system rather than a gatekeeper. This type of data-driven approach isn't just faster, it's infinitely smarter, and ironically, it's more humane, because instead of forcing people and their situations into predefined templates, it adapts to the complexity of actual lives and specific circumstances. Once you understand how AI can think, it's clear to see how it presents an enormous administrative advantage. In the final video of this 4-part series, we're going to zoom out even further, because once you understand how AI sees, how it perceives, and how it interprets human experience, there's a much bigger question waiting underneath all of this. What happens when humans and AI stop acting as two separate intelligences and start behaving as a combined cognitive force? That's the idea at the heart of the next video, the hybrid mind. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you like this kind of content. I've got loads of videos already published on technology and its impact on humanity, and lots more coming as well. You can also check out the Layered Future website, layeredfuture.com, for articles and other cool stuff as well. Oh, and you can join the mailing list. Thank you, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. This video was based on my writing over at layeredfuture.com. If you'd like to explore the full article or browse through other topics, you'll find it all there.